all the different old mods that used to exist.
Oh
so
my
over
God.
the years, it's been a million.
Hello everyone, welcome back. Chris Barocci. This is the Thomann YouTube channel, and we have the one and only Dave Friedman here in the house.
Hello.
Hey Dave.
How are you?
So
Good to
cool
see
you
you
join
again.
us. So you have lots of new little toys here.
Lots of goodies. Yeah.
All right. So before we get into that, like we're talking pedals and wah and everything, so it's gonna be interesting. But first, let's just talk a little about the yourself and the company and everything. Bit of like a present, future kind of thing. I don't know. So you are not originally from LA, right?
No, originally from Detroit, Michigan.
Detroit. All right, cool. So you moved there?
I moved to LA when I was 18 years old.
Oh wow. Okay. Cool.
Originally to be a music,
Yeah,
guitar
what
player
else?
and stuff.
Rockstar.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well,
instead I started working in the industry and working for Rockstars. I worked for, when I moved to Los Angeles, I worked for Andy Brower's Studio Rentals,
Okay.
which at the time was a very famous studio instrument rental company in, that would be 1988 or something.
Wow. Okay.
They did cartage for famous studio guitar players like Steve Lukather and Dan Huff and all these famous session dudes.
Yeah.
And also studio instrument rentals, which was vintage amps, vintage guitars, modded amps, cabinets, everything, bass gear. So that's where the start of the amp knowledge came from.
Wow.
I kind of started on my own before that, but learning, I can tell you what a vintage Tweed Deluxe sounds like. I can tell you what all the various blackface Fenders sound like.
Yeah. Or a modded
Marshalls, or all the different old mods that used to exist. High watts, everything, vintage Strats, vintage guitars, a really solid bass in tone.
Yeah. Well, that's probably a huge eye opener, right? Like hearing all these different.
Well, you just learned. It was normal then. Well, it was
kind
kind of normal because you were surrounded by it.
Sounds so
but
weird
most
now.
people don't ever get the opportunity to play through everything that I got to play through, or in one spot.
Did that shape your taste? Like you're more of the kind of the vintage instrument lover, but with a twist, with a modern twist.
With a modern twist,
right?
yeah.
I mean,
I'm firmly rooted in all the vintage amps and all the vintage things, but my amps are more modern than that, generally speaking.
Way more, yeah.
But it all started with one 50-watt plexiglass JMP Marshall that I had, 1968 JMP Marshall. And it all started with that, and I used to run that with a Variac, and all the sounds came from that. That's where it starts from. So most of my amps can actually obtain that sound.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
If you dial it in a certain way. Yeah, the idea was to try to how do you attain those tones at lower volumes because people want to play at lower volumes. How do you obtain more gain out of it if it's not enough? So I kind of have different amps for different styles of players, like a Dirty Shirley here, or a B100 here. Two different amps.
Absolutely.
Very different in style.
Yeah. Absolutely. But still, you kind of hear that kind of root.
Yes.
The main core is the same.
Same sort of
DNA.
British core.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. The thing is that you started doing non-amp products a couple of years ago, right? Like three and a half.
Yeah,
stuff.
3 years ago. We have pedals. Now guitars. As we have right here, and you've used in some other videos.
That's so pretty.
So the pedals were how do you make a little pedal that sort of sounds like the amp that people can use and take to a small gig or something, and they can plug into whatever. Because a lot of times you're faced with that situation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course. Of course. I mean, that's so interesting that the whole pedal thing just came back. Like, I don't know, maybe it was like 8 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. When this whole thing started,
crazy
right?
now, right?
It's like it was all racks and MIDI and everything, and now it's everything pedal board.
Well, it goes back a little further than that, even maybe. But I haven't really seen. Well, let's go back a little bit. So after I started working at the studio instrument rental company, eventually I started doing guitar rigs
Oh yeah,
for touring guitar players.
Which you still do, right?
Which I still do.
Yeah.
And that's sort of when I started working with all the great players, and I do Eddie Van Halen's rig and do
I've seen some.
So many
Slash.
Steve Stevens, Slash.
Yeah, it's
so many I can't even think. I can't come up with them at the drop of a hat.
All the names just drop. Oh
so
my God.
over the years, it's been a million.
Did these people always use pedals, like racks and
No,
the
but where I was going with that was the rack stuff started dropping away in the 90s.
Yeah.
Early 90s. Yeah. And then slowly things would creep back in, like some rack mount stuff and pedals and different things and rigs. Now everything's about being small.
Yeah.
And pedal based. Wow. Again, they want to travel with it.
Yeah. So they have a huge rack and have
so that kind of comes full circle why, we make Friedman pedal boards.
Yeah.
Which
makes a lot of sense.
And power supplies and the buffer bay that comes with it. It all stems from all the experience of doing systems over the years. So how do I build something that's a little more accessible, a pro product that's accessible to guitar players?
Is it fair to say that this whole setup, building, and rack systems and everything, and taking care of all the rigs of all these guitar players, that this is for a longer time your business than amps?
Yes.
Modifying amps even? Really? Mm-hmm. Okay. So I think it's fair to say that this whole pedal thing and pedal board and all the
that's actually my core.
The core Friedman thing to do.
Kind of originally, yes. Uh-huh.
Wow. Which is a different way.
But then how we get to amps though is in the early 90s, I started working with Bruce Egnater. And I convinced him to make the very first 4-channel guitar preamp.
Wow.
Because there was a need for it. And we partnered up, and I helped him sell them and tweak them.
Wow.
And that's when I really started delving really deep into amps. I was already dabbling, but that's when I started really delving deep.
Like a kickstart.
And he was sort of a mentor.
Yeah.
So
he's such a cool guy also.
Yeah, he was sort of a mentor. So we did that for a while until he, sold to Rocktron, and then
that was then the Rocktron thing.
Then he moved Egnater to Rocktron, and that's when my involvement ended.
Wow. Okay.
Fast forward, I started making my own line.
Yeah.
With a few other things in between.
Then you started doing guitars, which has been a massive success.
Yes. So that was in collaboration with Grover Jackson.
Yeah.
We started doing, the first guitar we did was the Vintage T, which you're familiar with.
Yeah, which is my favorite still, yeah.
It's just a great T-style guitar. Has some interesting features a lot of guitars don't have.
It just rings so warm and woody.
Well, the guitars sort of came from the same experience that I've had over the years with vintage guitars and with even helping with other guitar companies and other guitars companies coming to me and going, hey, what do you think of this? And well, it's going to change this, fix that, do that. So, finally it kind of came around where it's like, I'd love to make some guitars because I think nothing really existed that I totally wanted.
Yeah, but
so the idea was sort of
you cannot buy those. So
vintage aesthetics with modern playability. So it's a compound radius and slightly larger frets, medium jumbo frets.
Yeah.
Depends on the guitar we're talking about.
Neck is nice. Is this a wider saddle or is it just a neck profile that makes it?
It's the neck profile that feels.
Because it's almost like a V if you ask me, but it's actually a C. It's a really nice C.
Yeah.
But
it
has a nice
not too big,
flat
not too
side.
small. It's got a good feel in the hand.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Awesome. So that's that. This is the newest one.
Vintage S.
The Vintage S. The Vintage T was out. The Cali was out, and there's also the single cut. Which we don't have here right now.
Metro D,
Yeah, the Metro D will grab one of those.
Cool.
Yeah, and especially I'm really interested in the one Grover showed me at an AM show. There's one with, what was the wood choice? Was it alder with
the standard
maple on it?
Configuration is an alder back with a maple top and a mahogany neck.
Which is...
How did we come up with that?
It's just like, wow.
Well, it was... we tried it. That's how we came up with it. You know? He actually made a sample that way just for a body shape sample.
Okay.
And then we're like, well, why did you make it out of that? We were supposed to make it out of mahogany.
Yeah, yeah. Who told us it's going to be best?
Well, wait a minute. Let's listen to it. It sounded great.
Oh, wow.
And in thinking it's a single cut guitar, but it's not supposed to be the other famous single cut guitar.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
it's not really supposed to be. It's supposed to be its own thing.
To make you feel free judging it, you know. Like,
yes.
It's not like, oh, it better sound like a Gibson. It's not a Gibson. It's a different brand. Yeah. It's a different shape. Even the shape is enough different to not being, you know, in this.
But yet it has some similarities in some respects.
Absolutely, so, absolutely. It's more a single cut than anything else, but it's still, sort of a different. It's also flat top, right?
It's not carved as the traditional. It does curve.
Okay, it's a curve.
So it is technically an arch.
Okay.
But it's a very smooth arch. So on your arm, it feels really good. Unlike the edge of a pawl.
Yeah.
Because it'll dig into your arm. Yeah. And this feels very smooth to hold and play.
Okay. Wow. I'm really looking forward to having one of those in my hands. So guys, that's the first part. We will continue with the pedals and all the new stuff and everything product related in the second part. So we'll be coming back. Sammy Bowler will join us playing some really sick guitar tones, and we'll tweak some knobs and whatever what. So they will be back. Make sure you are also back. Subscribe, like, you know what to do. See you soon.